be me, 34 years old, working as electrical engineer at manufacturing company here, married to my wife Shannon for 6 years now, and together, total. She is 32, works part-time as graphic designer from home mostly. We have good marriage and get along well most of the time. Shannon works about 20 hours per week doing freelance design projects remotely. I work full-time about 45 hours per week at the plant. We both contribute to the household, but I earn more because we full-time. We split bills proportionally based on our incomes, which seems fair too. She does most of the cooking and cleaning during the week, honestly. I do yard work and car maintenance and handle home repairs when needed. We never really argued about the division of labor. It just kind of happened. Seemed like we both did what we were better at naturally over. One day, Shannon tells me she joined online feminist group on social. Says they discuss women's issues and empowerment and supporting each other always. Tell her that sounds great and I am glad she has community. She seems really excited about the group and talks about it often. Few weeks go by and she starts talking about unpaid domestic labor. Says she has been learning about how women do most housework without. Tell her she does do more cooking and cleaning than me. That she says exactly, and that labor has economic value that goes uncompensated. Ask her what she means, and she says housework would cost money. She says if we hired someone to cook and clean, it would be. Tell her, yes, but we are married, so we help each other. She says helping is not the same as doing majority of the. Tell her I do help with things like yard work and repairs. She says those are weekly or monthly tasks, not daily, like cooking. Says she spends hours every day doing labor that benefits me. Tell her I appreciate everything she does, and I do contribute too. She says appreciation is not the same as fair compensation for labor. Ask her what she wants me to do differently about this situation. She says she has been thinking about it and wants to discuss. Tells me to sit down because she has proposal to make tonight. She pulls out a spreadsheet showing hours spent on household tasks weekly. Shows me that she spends about 25 hours per week on cooking. Says if we hired a cook and housekeeper, it would cost thousands. Tells me she thinks I should pay her for the domestic labor. Tell her I am not paying her to do housework in our marriage. She says, why not, when I benefit from her labor every single day? Tell her, because we are married and both contribute to the household. She says, but I contribute more hours and should be compensated for. Ask her if she wants me to do more housework instead of. She says no, because she prefers doing it her way, and I do. Tell her then what is the problem if she wants to do. She says the problem is I benefit from her unpaid labor without. Tell her marriage is partnership, not employer-employee relationship, with payments due. She says that is patriarchal thinking that devalues women's domestic contributions. Always says, for centuries women have done unpaid labor that subsidizes men's careers. Tell her I am not responsible for centuries of history, just our. She says our marriage exists within that historical context, whether I like it. Tell her I think this whole conversation is ridiculous and going nowhere. She gets upset and says I am dismissing her legitimate concerns about our. Tell her I am not dismissing, I just do not agree with our. Few days pass, and she brings it up again, more seriously now. Says she calculated that her domestic labor is worth about $2,000 monthly. Tells me she wants me to pay her that amount going forward. Tell her absolutely not. I am not paying my wife a salary. She says it is not salary, it is fair compensation for work. Tell her she also benefits from my income, which pays majority of. She says that is different, because I get paid by my employer. Tell her exactly, and she is not my employee, she is my. She says I am being intentionally obtuse about the economics of marriage. She says women's unpaid domestic labor props up the entire capitalist system. Clearly, tell her I do not care about capitalist system. I care about. She says that is the problem. I only care about myself. Not. Tell her that is not true. I just think this payment idea. She interrupts and says she is serious about this and not backing up. Tells me she needs me to recognize the value of her labor. Tell her I do recognize it, but paying her is not the. She says, then what is the answer? Because current situation is exploitative. Tell her we can redistribute chores if she feels it is unfair. She says she already told me she does not want me doing. Tell her then I do not know what she wants from me. She says she wants what she has been asking for, which is. Tell her for the last time I am not paying her for. She says fine, then she will stop doing the housework altogether, starting. Tell her that seems extreme and childish response to this disagreement here. Next day, I come home from work and house is a mess. Dishes from breakfast still in the sink and no dinner prepared. Like Shannon is sitting on the couch watching TV, looking totally relaxed there. Ask her what is going on, and she says she is on. Tell her on strike from what exactly, and she says domestic labor. Says if I am not going to compensate her, she is not. Tell her this is our home, and we both need to maintain. She says then I can maintain it myself since I refuse to. Tell her she is being ridiculous, and this is not how marriage. She says this is exactly how marriage works when one person is. Tell her I am not exploiting her. I just do not think. She says my refusal to pay proves that I am exploiting her. Few days go by and house gets worse and worse condition overall. Dishes piling up and laundry not done and no meals cooked at. I start doing my own laundry and making simple meals for myself. Shannon continues her strike and does absolutely nothing around the house. Now ask her how long she plans to keep this up for. She says until I agree to pay her fair compensation for work. Tell her I will never agree to that. So she might as well. She says then, I guess we will live in filth and disorder. Week 2 of the strike, and I'm doing most housework myself. Working full-time and then coming home to clean and cook every day. Shannon sits around all day working her 20 hours and doing nothing. Tell her this is putting a lot of strain on our marriage. She says good. Maybe now I understand how she felt doing everything. Tell her she did not do everything. I always helped with things. She says helping is not the same as bearing primary responsibility for. Tell her fine, I am bearing it now. So, can she stop? She says no, because I am still not paying her for her. Tell her she is not doing any labor right now to pay. She says she is withholding her labor until fair compensation is agreed. Realize this is going to be an ongoing battle and feel exhausted. My parents come over for dinner and notice the state of the house. My mom pulls me aside and asks if everything is okay here. Tell her Shannon is on strike from housework until I pay her. My mom looks shocked and says that is the most ridiculous thing. Tell her I know, but Shannon is serious about it apparently now. My mom asks what Shannon does all day, if not housework anymore. Tell her she works her part-time job and then just relaxes. My mom says that is completely unfair to me, and I should tell her I do not know how to put my foot down. My mom says I need to tell Shannon this is unacceptable behavior. Tell her I have tried, but she will not listen to reason. My mom says maybe Shannon needs reality check about how marriage works. Shannon overhears the conversation and confronts my mom about it. After tells my mom she does not understand the economics of domestic labor. My mom says she was a housewife for 30 years and never demanded payment. Shannon says that is internalized misogyny and accepting exploitation from patriarchy. My mom gets upset and tells Shannon she is being disrespectful. And Shannon says she is just standing up for her rights as woman. My parents leave early, and my mom tells me to call if I tell her I will and apologize for Shannon's behavior toward her. Month into the strike, and I am at my breaking point, honestly. Working full-time, doing all housework, and Shannon does nothing but work. She seems completely unbothered by the state of our marriage and house. I try to talk to her, but she just repeats her. Tell her this cannot continue. We need to find a compromise here. She says compromise is simple. I pay her for her labor going. Tell her I will do more housework, but I will not pay. She says that is not good enough. She wants financial recognition of. Ask her why money is so important to her in this. She says because money is how society values work and contributions. Always says unpaid work is invisible and devalued, which is what happens to me. Tell her I value her. I just do not think paying her. She says if I valued her, I would compensate her for work. Tell her that logic makes no sense in context of marriage partnership. She says marriage has always been economic arrangement, whether we acknowledge it. Tell her our marriage was based on love, not economics. Until she says that is naive, romantic thinking that ignores material reality. Tell her I think she has been radicalized by her online group. She gets very angry and says I am dismissing her feminist awakening. Tell her I am not dismissing. I am just concerned about our 2 months into strike, and I am seriously considering what to do. Our marriage feels like a roommate situation where we barely interact anymore. Shannon still refuses to do any housework or cooking at all here. I am exhausted from working and maintaining everything by myself now daily. Sit her down and tell her we need marriage counseling to work. She says she will go to counseling if therapist understands feminist economics. Tell her we just need someone to help us communicate better clearly. She agrees, but says she is not backing down from her position. We go to marriage counselor and explain the situation to her fully. Shannon presents her argument about unpaid domestic labor and compensation deserved for. I explain that I think marriage is partnership, not employment relationship. Here. Therapist asks Shannon why payment is specifically important to her. Exactly. Shannon says payment represents recognition and value of her contributions to household. Therapist asks if there are other ways I could show recognition. Shannon says she has thought about it, and money is what matters. Therapist asks me how I feel about Shannon's strike from Housework. Tell her I feel hurt and abandoned and like I am doing. Therapist asks Shannon if she understands how her strike affects me emotionally. Shannon says she does, but her need for fair compensation is more. Therapist looks concerned and says marriage requires compromise from both partners here. Shannon says she is willing to compromise on the amount, but not. Tell therapist I am not willing to pay my wife for housework. Therapist says we seem to be at an impasse with fundamentally different. Shannon says unless he pays me, we have nothing more to discuss. We leave counseling, and Shannon says the therapist clearly did not understand. Tell her the therapist understood fine. We just have incompatible views on. She says incompatible views means we probably should not be married then. Feel my stomach drop as she says this so casually, like nothing. Ask her if she is seriously suggesting divorce over this payment issue. She says she is seriously suggesting I consider what matters more to him. Tell her my marriage matters, but I am not paying her for, she says. Then I guess I have my answer about priorities here. A few weeks later, I come home from work to find envelope on. Open it and find divorce papers filed by Shannon citing irreconcilable differences. Feel completely shocked, even though I should have seen this coming clearly. Call Shannon and ask if she is serious about divorcing over this. She says yes. She is completely serious about ending our marriage now. Says she cannot be in a relationship where her labor is devalued. And tell her I never devalued her. I just would not pay her. She says refusing to pay is the same as devaluing her contributions. Tell her I cannot believe she is throwing away 6 years of. She says she is not throwing away. I am by refusing to. Tell her this is insane, an extreme response to simple disagreement about. She says it is not simple disagreement. It is fundamental incompatibility of. Ask her if there is anything I can do to stop. She says yes. Pay me what I asked for all along. Clearly tell her I am not going to be extorted into paying my dollar. She says then there is nothing more to discuss and see lawyer. Call my parents and tell them Shannon filed for divorce over payment. My mom is shocked and says she cannot believe Shannon actually did. My dad says Shannon was clearly looking for excuse to leave, and tell them I do not think that is true. She really. My mom says no one divorces their spouse over not getting paid, says there must be something else going on that I do not. Tell them Shannon has been very clear about her reasons. This whole, my dad says let her go if she values money over marriage. Try to talk to Shannon multiple times over next few weeks here. She refuses to discuss anything except through lawyers from this point on. I am devastated that my marriage is ending over something so stupid. Feel like I am living in alternate reality where nothing makes sense. My lawyer tells me the divorce should be straightforward since no kids. Says we will split assets and debts and go our separate ways. Tells me Shannon is not asking for alimony, which is surprising given everything. Realize she probably knows asking for alimony after demanding payment would look. Divorce is finalized 3 months later, and Shannon moves out of house. She takes her half of assets, and we split everything down middle. Last conversation we have, she tells me she hopes I learned something. Tell her I learned that some people value money more than relationships. She says that is not what this was about at all. Clearly says it was about recognition and respect for women's unpaid labor. Always. Tell her she could have had both without blowing up our marriage. She says, not from someone who refused to put his money where, months after divorce, I am still processing what happened to my marriage. Talk to friends, and they all think Shannon was completely unreasonable about. One friend says his wife made similar arguments, but they compromised on. Ask him what compromise they reached, and he says he does more. Tell him I offered that, but Shannon specifically wanted money, not help. He says then she was not interested in solving problem, just getting. Realize he is probably right, and Shannon was more interested in ideology. She let her online feminist group convince her to blow up marriage. Year later, I hear through mutual friends that Shannon is still single. She posts on social media about how her ex-husband refused to. Never mentions that she demanded payment or that she filed for divorce. Frames herself as victim whose labor was exploited by selfish husband, who... Mutual friend tells me Shannon is now dating someone from her feminist. Says they have arrangement where he pays her for domestic labor. She tell friend that sounds like prostitution with extra steps, but whatever works. Friend laughs and says, Shannon seems happy with the new arrangement anyway. Think about how Shannon valued getting paid more than our actual marriage. She was willing to end 6 years together because I would not. No amount of love or history mattered more than her principle. About. Realize she cared more about the ideology than about me personally. Here, sometimes demanding payment for housework destroys your marriage when refused to comply. Sometimes feminist ideology convinces you that partnership is actually exploitation of labor. Sometimes principles matter more to people than the actual relationships they are. And sometimes husband collapses when divorce papers arrive over refusing to pay wife.